Mike. At this time, Mike is going to come up and introduce our speaker.
Good evening. We'll get started with this. Miss Marilyn Winn is the regional president for Bally's, the Rio, and Paris. Originally from Youngstown, Ohio, she received her Bachelor's of Science in Marketing from the University of Utah, the Master's of Education from the University of Utah. She began her career with Harrah's Entertainment in 1988 and held various positions in human resources. From 1993 to 1995, she was Vice President of Human Resources for Harrah's Southern Nevada. From 95 to 97, she was the Director of Slot Operations at Harrah's Las Vegas. From 1997 to 99, Senior Vice President and General Manager of Harrah's Shreveport. From 1999 to 2004, she was Senior Vice President of Human Resources for Harrah's Entertainment. 2004 to 2005, Senior Vice President and General Manager of Harrah's, Las Vegas, and the Rio. And in June of 2005, she was in her current position now as the Regional President of Bally's, Rio, and Paris, Las Vegas. The three properties have a combined room count of 8,300. There's 275,000 square feet of casino space and 11,000 employees. And of course, the Rio is the home to the World Series of Poker. One of the most interesting and impressive things to me, above and beyond the things I've just read, is recently she was the lead negotiator for all 6 Harrah's properties with the Culinary and Bartenders Union that covered 15,000 employees, and my understanding was it was the finest contract that had been put together in the history of Las Vegas. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to present your 2007 keynote speaker, Miss Marilyn Winn.
Thanks, Mike. Well, I've had a hard time holding a job, haven't I? So I do hope that all of you had as interesting of table conversation as we did at our table. And it's really an honor to be here this evening. When Claudine and Kitty, so imagine getting strong-armed by Claudine and Kitty to say, you have to come and you need to speak to this group. And then I said, well, what do you want me to talk about? And they said, well, talk about anything. And so eventually Claudine said, just talk about you and what you've done. And so that's what I have for you, with maybe a few stories, but clearly not as interesting as Bob Mayhew or Claudine Williams' stories as they've already preceded me on this podium before. So here's the story. I was born in Ohio, Youngstown, Ohio. Youngstown, Ohio is a place where people used to, in the 60s, go out, start their car, and get blown up, okay? So, right away, my mom was pretty excited about me moving to Las Vegas because she kept on telling me they know who you are. And I wasn't quite exactly sure what that meant. But born in Ohio, went to parochial school. Sister Marie Martha, I know today, still rolls over in her grave when she sees some of my ads. But I'm praying for forgiveness right now. Moved to Salt Lake City when I was in high school. Went to an all-girls Catholic school there too. And I am the least likely person to ever be a regional president for a casino. But through teaching fashion merchandising classes at Weber State College, it's now Weber State University, and getting involved in the retail business, and living in Denver and living in New York. If any of you are from New York, I have to admit, I hated New York City. And so out of the blue, because you can't get to work on time ever, and so out of the blue, moved to Las Vegas with a 6-week-old daughter and my husband at the time, and decided I was never going to go to work again because I'd already worked a lot of years. But if you've worked before and that's all you know, in Las Vegas, you don't meet many people if you're staying home all the time. And when you have a little tiny baby, they really don't need to go to Gymboree all that often. And so I got so bored, I opened the Sunday newspaper and I applied for a job at the Holiday Casino. The only job I applied for in Las Vegas, I was going to be the training manager. And so I went down, and my interview at the Holiday Casino actually was 2 months long. Finally, because Harrah's is a very deliberate company, finally I asked the guy who was interviewing me, do you want to hire me? and which is kind of unusual. It's kind of like asking a guy if he wants to get married, but nevertheless, he said yes. And so I started as the training manager. And it was an interview process where I remember he walked me around the floor because he knew about my background, and he wasn't sure I could handle people who drank, people who smoked, people who lost their money, people who swore. But frankly, the environment, as I think all of you, because you're attached to this industry in some way, is so exciting. Did that for 10 months, and then we had a harassment problem in the cage. I have a marketing degree, and as a marketer, you have to take 6 accounting classes at the University of Utah. The debits and credits always kind of confuse me, which side they were on. Debits are downers, credits are parties, right? That's the way I've always remembered them. Debits are downers, credits are parties. They put me in the cage as the cage manager to solve this harassment problem. Now, in the cage, before I went, I had this lady from internal audit come and show up, and she wanted to tell me how many violations of the mix I had. Now, if you're in the casino business, maybe you know mix means minimum internal control standards. But frankly, if you're not in the casino business, you think you've got a problem with a lot of Irish folks, right? Because, you know, we got a lot of problems with the mix. The day before I started as cage manager, we had a Reg 6A violation. Gaming Control Board came in, shopped us, cash for cash, we violated it. Unbelievable, I hadn't even started yet. $100,000 fine, first fine that we'd had in probably forever. I'm sure Claudine never had a fine. I hadn't even been in the job, and I ended up having a fine. And so one night, because I hadn't started yet, pulled out the regs and a bottle of red wine and sat there and read the regs enough times to figure out what the hell they're talking about when they mean cash for cash. Got it, went in, and we really cleaned up the cage. And it was such an amazing opportunity when you think of a company who takes someone who doesn't have an accounting degree, who never was a cage person before, and says, you know what, figure it out. And throughout what I'm going to talk about, I have to tell you, I bleed Harrah's because I've worked for them for 19 years, and they believe in people. Truly, they believe in people. And so I'm like a living example of some of that. It was unbelievable. That was my first opportunity to understand old-time casino folks, because cage cashiers were old-time casino folks in 1989. And they looked at me like I had 4 heads because I wanted to talk customer service. And today, of course, at Harrah's and at all the other casinos that we have throughout the country, customer service is so important. So we started in terms of that. I went back to human resources. I did the normal kind of HR stuff, you know, employment and recruiting and compensation. And it was a great learning ground because when you're in HR, you can ask any question you want because you don't know. They assume you don't know, and they're happy to help you. But I do remember that as I was trying to go in and I'd go into the table games area, the table games director would try to intimidate me. And so he'd sit there with all the checks and he'd be like shuffling the checks with his one hand over and over and over again, which, you know, obviously when you don't know what that's all about, it is intimidating. But it gave me the chance to get in touch with the business. And in 1995, had the opportunity to say I want out of HR. And so half of my career has been in human resources and half of my career is in operations. And so went into slots, ran the slot floor. Now, I don't know if you know about the Holiday Casino in Harrah's Las Vegas, but Harrah's Las Vegas had the history of the number $1 slot house on the Strip. No one beat us. Didn't matter if it was Caesar's Palace or if it were the Mirage. We had a lot of things going for us. We had a great buffet. Perhaps you've heard of that. We had a great buffet, and we had a players tracking system that really worked. And so I remember calling Claudine up and saying, Claudine, I got this new job in slots, and I am pretty clueless about what I'm going to do. And so Claudine immediately, knowing all about relationships, and I don't know if you remember this, Claudine, you told me, you go see Daisy Bush. And Daisy Bush was an IGT representative. And Daisy introduced me to everybody in Las Vegas to make sure I learned from the very best at any company I wanted to get into. And I do recall, after 2 years working in slots, laying out the floor, we totally redid the Harrah's Las Vegas property, I got promoted to be the GM in Shreveport. And Daisy called me up and she said, I wanted to wish you congratulations if this is a good thing, but I'm not really sure because you're going to Shreveport. Now, you don't say anything bad about Shreveport in front of Claudine or in front of me, because Claudine spent a lot of years there, and I spent 2 years in Shreveport. But it was an amazing first GM job. Now, if you aren't aware, there aren't too many females running casinos on the Las Vegas Strip, and typically no female has started on the Las Vegas Strip. And so they ship us out to try to get us retrained or retooled or do something different. But it was an amazing, different environment. Imagine a place where there's no really tall buildings. Everybody talks with a drawl. There's such a thing called Cajun Daiquiri, which is a drive-up like Dairy Queen, only it serves daiquiris. And they have like a little straw on top, and they tape it, and that's a closed container. And everybody's driving the road with them. On Saturday nights, because, you know, like people say, what, you work on Saturday night? Well, of course you work on Saturday night. If you run a retail store, you're not going to work on Saturday, your biggest day of the week. And so on Saturday nights, I mean, all these Texans are driving around with Cajun daiquiris. But you had to love the Texans, because they came to town. At that point in time, there was no other place to gamble except coming to Shreveport. The market for casinos. We had this little tiny boat. And we didn't have a hotel. We farmed people out at the Best Western and at Hampton Inn. And across the river, here's Jack Binion's King of the Red. Casino Magic and the Isle of Capri. But what Shreveport was all about relationships. The customers were unbelievable. We would have these little dinners. We called them Dinner with Marilyn on Friday nights. And we'd bring them into the nicest steakhouse. After about 40 minutes, I figured out all people, after 40 minutes, if you're a gambler, you start rocking back and forth in your chair. That means they don't care what you have to say anymore. Like, it's time for dessert or the final drink, and get on out of there. So the customers were fabulous. The employees, oh my gosh, if you know of any Southern Louisiana employees, how you doing? You doing okay? That's the standard line. You doing okay? And they were wonderful. I do recall, however, the day on the boat, the little property we had was so small, and I mean so, it was kind of like pitching a tent in Indian land, really, because the boat was small, the pavilion was small at the time. And one day I walk in, and the employees decided that they just didn't want to work there anymore on the buffet line. They totally had a walkout. And so you'd have to like tell people, you know, please come back. And it was a disaster. I said to the assistant general manager, why didn't you call me? Well, I figured I could bust the tables before you got in. That was not such a good idea. Politicians in Shreveport, the city council. I remember my boss told me at the time, here's a list of people, whatever you do, don't be in a closed meeting with them. I said, why not? He said, you don't want to know. Just don't be in a closed meeting. But the city council members, 2 of them, had both been indicted on tax evasion. So some of the stuff that happens here in Las Vegas in politics, very similar to what could have happened in Shreveport. They taught me about the civil rights movement because they lived it. It was absolutely unbelievable, the history that was involved in terms of all that. I mean, it was great. The Red River, you know, in Louisiana, at that time, you could only gamble on water. There was something holy about gambling on water. You can't gamble on land. And the Red River, which was where we were, our boat was in what you call a coffer cell. And in this coffer cell, it was like a bathtub, and there would be silt down at the bottom. And every once in a while, when the water would come over the coffer cell, the boat would list to one side or the other. Imagine that that's one of the responsibilities of a general manager running a casino, making sure your boat doesn't list. So one year, the winter I was there, the Red River is having this huge runoff. And if you go to a boat at that time, there was a plank. And if you have a fire marshal, you can only rise 1 foot for every 12 feet of space, run. They were going to shut me down because the water was coming over and the boat was too high and the plank was going up like that. You look outside, honest to God, you'd see dead cows going down the Red River. And this is where people would come and gamble. It was unbelievable. And so one day I go to lunch and I come back and my secretary said, Phil Satry called you. Now, I knew Phil because Phil's a wonderful guy. Maybe many of you know Phil. But Phil doesn't usually call general managers unless there's something up. And my secretary said, I don't think we're in trouble, do you? And I said, I'm not really sure if we're in trouble. And she said, well, he wants you to call him back. And so Phil said, look, the guy who runs human resources isn't going to move with us when we move the company to Las Vegas. I want you to apply for the head HR job. And I said, you do? okay? So I went home, told my daughter. My daughter immediately said, Mom, whatever you do, wear your glasses. It makes you look smarter. Because although I liked Louisiana, it was tough when you're 10 years old to like Louisiana. And that's when I turned back and came back here into human resources and ran HR for the company. Running HR for a major company, which ended up, we had 45,000 employees when I was there, was phenomenal. And I did have the chance to negotiate the culinary contract, but probably more interesting during that time was the time Harrah's was buying other companies. And so when I had joined Human Resources, we'd already bought Showboat. And then we bought the Rio in 1999, which was the same time, same year that we moved back here and established the Harrah's Entertainment offices. From buying the Rio, we ended up buying Players, we ended up buying Harvey's, we ended up buying Horseshoe, and of course we bought Caesars. And now, of course, you know, what goes around comes around. We're getting purchased ourselves. But the most amazing time of all the time, 4.5 years in human resources, was the week where we had bought the Horseshoe, and Claudine and Jack Binion and I and his HR person went on the road to talk to the Horseshoe employees. And having Jack in the plane with Claudine as they were bantering around their stories, frankly, Claudine, my favorite is when Jack only called his father Benny Binion. He never called him Dad, it was always Benny Binion. And he talked about during Prohibition, as Jack was running liquor and he got caught, and they would take the liquor and they would put it upstairs in the jail as evidence. And so Benny was smart enough to ask the bailiff to go upstairs and get a couple bottles, got the bailiff drunk, made sure that he got a copy of the key, had somebody else while the bailiff was sleeping on the chair, go up and take away all the evidence, and ended up getting off. Now, that was a smart guy, right? Jack had tons and tons of stories, and I remember being on the plane, and Claudine, we were laughing so hard we were crying. So it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. There's nothing like operations. I love what we do today. And running 3 properties like Bally's and Rio and Paris, we're big on branding. A whole bunch of my time is spent trying to figure out how to get customers in and what is the personality you're looking for. At Bally's, classic Las Vegas. We say that Bally's is where you would like to bring your wife. Okay, you'd feel good about bringing your wife to Bally's. Paris. At Paris, if you look at our advertising, you'll see we have all sorts of female body parts. It's kind of how we're doing the advertising today. Fun and flirtatious and romantic. You'd like to bring your girlfriend over to Paris. The Rio is wild, uninhibited, exotic. Rio's where you go when you want to get lucky, okay? And so when we think about that, we think about Chippendales, and we think about Bevertainers, who automatically get up on the stage and start singing and dancing. And we think about Cafe Moderano, where you've got a disc jockey and fabulous Italian food. But we try to get those 3 different areas, the 3 different personalities, very distinct and different, so that employees know why customers are coming, and customers understand that they're different personalities, because now we own 8 properties in Las Vegas, and we continue to grow and develop, and we've got a lot of land, and someday we're going to announce to the world what we're going to do with that land. So it's been, in 19 years, I've had half the time in a corporate function and administrative, and half the time in an operations function. And it's truly, the employees and the customers that you meet and all the memories that you have about that, which is I'm sure why all of you are sitting at these tables having such a great time today. So unfortunately, I don't have stories from the 60s and 70s, because I only came into this business in 1988. But what a phenomenal industry that we're associated with, because people who are smart and people who work hard and people who like other people, they can be huge successes in this business. And so I hope you love it as much as I do, and it's really a pleasure to have a chance to be here in front of you and share a little bit of my story with you. And I heard from some folks that maybe you'd have a question or two, and if you do, I'm happy to answer it, but it's really my pleasure to talk to you.
Take some questions.
Okay.
If you got any questions, just raise your hand, and I'll try to see out here among the lights.
Way back there.
Way in the very back. Wants to get tickets for something. Tickets for what?
Well, you know, the entertainment strategy at most of the companies today is that these folks own their own shows. And so we call them four walls. And so the tickets, the best way to get tickets to Penn and Teller is to be a diamond player.
And if you need any assistance, I'm sure she'll be glad to explain the program to you later.
Oh, yeah. If you wanted to, I could do that now. No.
Michael.
Can you tell us something about the buyout and who the company is buying Harrah's and what the future might entail?
Absolutely. It's a partnership. It's called Texas Pacific, and it's called Apollo. And they came together because they are going to end up borrowing about, today listed in the paper, $17 billion. So we're a high-priced item. And we will have the same management team. We've rolled out to the management that this is the deal. And we will believe in the same service levels. We are the only casino that I know of that pays a bonus to every employee when we improve customer service. We will have total rewards that will continue. So frankly, it will be, the companies believed we were undervalued. And so they're going to take it private. And yesterday was earnings release, and it was so quiet. I mean, our earnings were on the front page of the business section, but there was no fanfare because the stock price, of course, is driven by the buyout offer. But I don't believe that there will be much change. The capital that we put into our buildings, because this is an industry that has a lot of capital, is going to continue to come. And there will be great announcements about what we'll be doing in Las Vegas. Clearly, the Caesars announcement with $1 billion. The Caesars is the top brand in our distribution chain. And so, you know, we haven't seen any real change, except I won't have to sign Sarbanes-Oxley, which I'm so excited about, not having to sign Sarbanes-Oxley sheets. That'll tell me that I'm going to go to jail if I did anything wrong. So, but more to come, I'm sure.
Other questions in the back?
I don't believe there'll be a consolidation of brands because great gamblers, great golfers want to play every golf course. Great gamblers want to play every casino. And when the vertebrae of the casino is about total rewards and customer service, so they know how they're going to be treated, and yet the personality is a little bit different. It's like a family with lots of different kids. They're all kind of connected, but they all have a distinct personality, or else it may be a little bit boring. And so you may have your favorite, but then you get to go to a variety of other casinos. And one of the things we do in Las Vegas is we don't care which casino of ours you play at. And all your points, everything goes together. And you can use your comps and at each of the casinos. It doesn't matter to us. And a host at one casino can book you at another casino. And that is like total cooperation, which I know sounds a little Pollyanna, but for the most part, that has really worked in our strategy because our competitors see it a little differently. So I doubt that you will ever, for me, I'm kind of schizophrenic. You can imagine what it's like to work at Bally's, Rio, and Paris all in one day, which I did today, because you don't know who you're supposed to be and who's going to be there with you. But I don't think we'll consolidate those brands, no.
Eric.
The last 10 years has seen huge consolidation in the casino properties. Harrah's, Caesars, and Bally's, MGM, Mirage. Where do you see it 10 years from now?
You know, in town, I don't believe there will be much more consolidation because I think that we'll have some issues with antitrust. And so it depends upon how big the industry ends up being. I think that there are certainly properties in smaller properties in other outlying areas that I think will be consolidated. And I think consolidation is something that happens in every industry as it matures. I know that there are employees who wish there were less consolidation But I also think that there are greater career opportunities for employees when there is consolidation, and sometimes better deals for customers when there is consolidation. So, the future with all the changes that are happening, Boyd is going to be huge on the Strip. Wynn continues to grow. The Plaza coming in, I wouldn't doubt that there's going to be some kind of casino element that's going to be associated with that. But MGM and Harrah's still have the majority of the concentration.
Right over here.
I got a question. With growth of Las Vegas the way it is in the casinos, has anybody ever thought about the water? This used to be a desert. I mean, is there going to really be long-term problems with water? Because I'm sure down in California really started to fight about the water. And when I've been coming here, I noticed the Colorado River's been going down, down, down.
I think that is a huge problem for us, and I know Pat Mulroy and her desire to try to change that. She's in charge of the water district here, and I think it's more of an issue for employees actually, because the policies seem to benefit the casinos because it's a tourist area and they're bringing customers in. But for employees, there have been dramatic changes. We're on water rationing. You can't have grass in your front yard if you're buying a new house. And I think that's really going to be the issue. And frankly, the bigger problem facing Las Vegas is the number of employees we're going to need with all these new properties opening up. And where do these people come from, and how do they find appropriate housing? Given the fact that the average cost of a house here has escalated so greatly. So you have scarce resources, you have scarce employees, and that certainly could stunt our growth. The only thing going for us is Las Vegas has been able to solve all these problems in the past. And so you have to say the best predictor of the future is the past, and hopefully that there will be some new solutions. But you are absolutely right. It's a desert.
Right back here.
What do you see the impact of Project City Center on the Strip?
I think it's huge. If you try to go down there most days, it stalls traffic all over the place. I'm going to have 7,500 rooms right across the street from Paris. Harrah's, to Harrah's, Paris is the gateway to the south. And I believe that they're going to do a great job trying to sequester their customers, because the MGM property, City Center, is going to be way in the back. And so customers are going to be somewhat challenged to get out of there. But it's a big world out there, and I don't think the customers will always stay at one place. I mean, we know that Las Vegas Conventions and Visitors Bureau identifies customers visit 5 to 6 casinos per trip, and so customers are going to get out. So for Harrah's, I'm loving the fact that it's right there. I think that we are planning improvements to Paris based upon all those people being across the street. You have tons of condos there in addition to the hotel that's coming through. So it's when we have growth in Las Vegas, it's good for all of us. I think all those boats are going to rise, and we're delighted to have them. I wish that they would take care of some of the traffic snarls, however, because it is a challenge when you are trying to cross the Strip on most days.
Right here.
You have two properties that are almost like competing with each other, maybe adjacent. Does that generate friction among employees sometimes? Do you have it in one property or another house?
Well, I mean, specifically, Paris and Bally's are connected. They have an entire artery that connects them. And for employees, there are different personalities and different levels of customers, target customers that we would have, and there may be different toke rates. So employees may have a desire to be promoted to a certain property because their toke rate would go up, and that's certainly understandable. So what we do is when we have scarce positions, we clearly want to have the most deserving be the ones who are promoted, and we look at it in that way. It has been interesting, especially in the Caesars properties. I took over 2 properties that weren't part of the Harrah's, so they had different personalities, and you never know how they're going to feel when you show up, and you come in. Are they going to like you? Are you going to buy your policies? And so when we said, no, we're going to send customers any place, and they looked at me and said, like, no, because I'm supposed to get credit for those. All of our systems are designed to give you credit for wherever your customers are going. And so, yes, they would hate it if you didn't have the infrastructure to provide them with credit, so that they feel good about that. Credit meaning that if you're a host, that actual or theoretical is in your book of business, and you're bonused on that by sending people there. And the people who are servicing the customers wherever you sent them, they get bonused on it too. And so we have set up a spirit of cooperation. Now, clearly, we don't troll the floor for customers, which is some ways good and some ways bad. So we will find out who you are. We'll sign you up for a Total Rewards card. We will send you more mail. Your mailman will think that you have a responsible gaming problem. I promise you that. Because, I mean, a Diamond customer gets about 260 pieces of mail from us a year. That's a lot of mail. Because it comes to my house, because I want to see what they're getting and when they're getting it. So my mailman has actually probably turned me in. But it works. It actually works if your infrastructure is designed that way. And so customers on the floor, we don't have a battle of the hosts on the floor trying to say, no, here's my card. No, here's my card over here. It doesn't work that way for us.
I think she told us the secret of those two properties earlier. You can have your wife in one tower, your girlfriend in the other, and never have to go outside.
You were paying attention.
I was. Eric?
What's the long-term plan for Aubrey Coast, and when will that happen, whenever it is?
If I told you, I'd have to kill all of you. So the long-term plan, well, they have got some grandiose ideas, and let's face it, we're in a good neighborhood there. You know, when you're across the street from Bellagio and you're across the street from Caesars, you're in the high rent district. And so clearly whatever we put there, and based upon how much we paid for it, we can't just put in like a McDonald's stand, there will be something very significant. And the announcement will come. You've seen how Gary Loveman has skirted all questions about what's going to go there. And I would believe that that would be announced after the takeover, so that the folks who are buying us get all the credit for it. And they should. They're going to have to pay the bill. So I'm sorry, can't tell you.
Have they decided what they're going to do?
We're close. We're close.
Kill me, kill him.
Oh, okay.
Any other questions? Right in the back here. I'm sorry.
Well, if you're getting that much mail, you're a good customer. So I'm glad to hear that. What happens is, here's what happens. If you have a certain level of play, properties can petition to go into the national database. You have to get special permission. And if there's a significant of enough event that we think that in the past, because you know Harris believes in predictive modeling and trying to determine which offer would be most appropriate for a customer based upon what we know about them, you may be somebody we know to be a golfer. You may be somebody we know who loves a high-end slot event. Whatever it may be, they will petition for that. And because we are having lots of events and we have lots of properties, we are the largest distributed casino in the United States, there are many opportunities because our events are sometimes unbelievable. And actually, I think what casinos have done today is they provide customers access to things customers can't buy. So if you want to be in the Indy 500 pit and we're sponsoring the car and you're that good a customer and that's what you want to do, we can get you there. And so that's how we have thought about the kind of mail. But we clearly could do better on mailbox management if you don't like all those, but there's no mail czar, so to speak, that says, I'm sorry, Joe got 14 offers already. We do, though, end up cutting you off of offers after a while. Because if the mail keeps going out and nothing comes back, we try to manage the mailbox in that way.
Larry?
So, just what does a person have to do to get a diamond card?
Well, you need to play. You need to play. And, the diamond card is one where typically someone will have put enough money through the system where there would be about a $3,500 amount. You could win. We hope you win. But that amount of money would have been circulated through the system.
What kind of time?
A year. A year. It's a very generous time period. And once you become a Diamond member, what we do is we provide you with the access to circumvent lots of lines and lots of service opportunities.
And I see the benefits.
Right.
That is, looks to me like a very good marketing tool of having, taking care of the premium players. I just didn't know, I'm never going to.
Well, you need 10,000 reward credits to get 100,000 reward credits. Excuse me, 100,000 reward credits to get there.
Right over here.
One other question about your clubs. My table players seem to get slighted. Like my wife plays a slot machine, but she gets all the daggone invitations. I play the tables for a lot more money, and I don't get nothing.
Well, part of that is because of the edge we have in slots versus the edge we have in tables, right? So if you understand tables, you know that the casino wins about 1 bet an hour, whereas in slots the casino wins more than that. So it's all a mathematical reinvestment strategy that we have. But if you play 5 times what your wife's getting, you should be able to get something. I am a bit surprised that none of you ask about Prince, because this past year on the front of the building at the Rio there was an enormous sign. Now, maybe many of you are from out of town and were not aware that Prince was in the showroom at the Rio and played there for 6 months. And that was part of the marketing strategy for having him, of exotic, uninhibited, and fun. And it was a pretty interesting thing to get to know him. And if you had the chance to see his performance, I mean, truly, he is one of the great performers of all time. And that's an example of access that folks would have in the casino business.
Jim.
A couple weeks ago, Gary Loveman was quoted in the gaming news, basically stating that Harrah's is not interested in any of the play from a 20 or 30-year-old group, only from 45 and older. Is this really something that a casino looks at to come out and really say that we don't want your play?
Jim, I read that article, and my secretary brought it in, and she said, "What was Gary thinking?" And so here's what we know. We study stuff that you wouldn't even believe. I mean, if you look at my desk, I got reports all over the place. And what we know is when people sign up for a Total Rewards card, we get their date of birth. What we also know is that people who are over 21, we don't do any entry-level marketing. We're not on college campuses like Sears or like all the credit card companies. We don't believe in that. And we know that people 20 to 30 and people 30 to 35, frankly, they don't play in casinos all that much. They do go to clubs. They do spend $400 for a bottle of vodka that costs about $15. They do all that kind of stuff, but they're not real gamblers. And so Harrah's has chosen I guess you would say, a discrimination strategy, in which customers who play the most get the most goodies. And that type of discrimination is absolutely legal. And so when we look at the 21 to 35-year-olds and we say, you know what, they don't play with us very often, and frankly, the average age of our customer is 45 to 49, that's the group that we will target our events after. Because if you've ever been to an event that was really designed for a 25-year-old and you're 50, you're in the wrong place, right? You feel like you're in the wrong place, like going to a club around here, and if you're over 35, you feel quite ancient, so to speak. And so I think that is a lot of, we know who we are, and we know which market we're going after, and if we change to a younger style or a younger property, everything in that property really needs to change to encourage those folks to come in. I think MGM has done a great job with younger folks, with their West Wing, and they've chosen that group to market. But we have not chosen that we will be all things to all people. And frankly, it's been a pretty successful strategy not to be all things to all people.
Ralph.
Being chip collectors, Rio, Paris, Bally's all put out limited edition chips. Do you look at that as a profit center, or do you look to get them on the tables that home people will be excited about them? And why do you limit the number of chips that one of us can come in and purchase at one time?
You know, it's interesting. Jim and I had this conversation as we met, and he walked me down to the exhibit. The Gaming Control Board in Nevada is not about us producing chips for sale. I don't know if you know that, but you do know that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well then, that's why. Because when we have chips, they have to be on the games. We cannot just have chips for sale in the casino cage.
Technically, you could put a stack on a table and sell the rest out of the cage, and you've met your commitment in that respect.
Not fully. And I'll tell you one thing, we always wear that white hat. And so those chips, typically the gaming, we want you to play on the table, so hopefully there's a chip. It's seated in there, and you'll take that chip and what you do with it afterwards. But it's been very difficult. We like to put out commemorative chips. We have Chip and Dale chips. We've got Tony and Tina chips. We got all sorts of different kinds of chips. But it's hard. Every time we do it, it is difficult to get that approved, and then difficult for distribution because we don't keep a private stash for people to come in and just buy them.
Are you aware that in most cases, once a chip hits the table, we don't want it? We want it pristine out of the cage.
Well, the Gaming Control Board doesn't. That's the problem. I mean, I hear you. I'd like to just create chips because I make money on those. I mean, we're all in this together. Unfortunately, we can't do that.
Any other questions? Oh, I'm sorry. Right over here, Bob.
Regarding your slot floor experience, there are new generation of slots, server-based slots. I was just curious, do you think they're going to take the strip by storm? Is it going to be slow evolution, or is it not going to work?
Well, I think server-based slots are really interesting, and there's two different models. One that the manufacturers are driving, such that they can that it's based upon the entire computer system in the casino. Hera's model is one it's based upon the customer, and so that is one that we have a proprietary system on, such that we know it's your birthday, and we know that if you typically like to go to the the buffet at the Rio, how do we send you that coupon based upon you to make it specific to you, because we think that provides competitive advantage to us. So I do think it's very interesting. I think the more personalization we make on the slot floor, the better, because today the only person that is really interacting with the slot customer is the beverage server, because everything is automated unless you win a jackpot. And not everybody is able to do that. So I think that we have to personalize it, and we're trying to figure out ways to make the customers aware that we want to have that personal relationship, because that is our marketing strategy.
Any other questions? Yes, right here, I'm sorry.
I really have a question. I want to answer the invitation. And that I noticed today when she comes through the exhibit area, we put the Silver Strike exhibit up, and she wasn't able to look at our exhibit. That's good, because it was in the process of being put up. I'd like to invite you to come back and take a good look at our exhibit now that it is up, and hopefully, possibly, y'all consider buying some Silver Strike machines for the, not only Silver Strikers, but people that come can have souvenirs to take home.
Well, I appreciate that. I saw some of the work, and it was pretty amazing in terms of just the few tables that were still open around 5 o'clock. But thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'll see what I can do.
Okay, I think we've probably worn her out here.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Let's see. Mike, before you started, she was down south. I want to know. I'm from the south.
Yes.
Did you learn the most important words down there?
Y'all?
No, not. Well, you y'all is important than us'ns, but you can say anything you want about somebody as long as you end it with "bless their heart." I mean,
Absolutely. Yes.
yeah, that's the dumbest boy I've ever seen. Bless his heart. So.
You're right.
Nice. Southern Home Week here.
Oh,
wrong
look at
card.
this.
Wrong card.
Your total reward.
On behalf of
Oh my God, he's a diamond! I'm so proud of you.
Thank you very much.
But you don't play at Harris. What are you talking about?
But it's the flamingo. But she is correct about the access. I mean, in the last several years of the evolution of this, it's become pretty amazing. But on behalf of our organization, we normally do several things. First off, thank you very much for coming, and we thoroughly enjoyed it. And as is tradition, we'd like to make you an honorary member.
Thank you. All right. Oh, look. Thank you very much.
And the next thing is we've always tried to give a gift to our speaker that somehow attached to the career you've had or the properties that you've been with. And as chip collectors, we have this for you.
Oh, how lovely. Oh, thank you. That's beautiful. Thank you very much.
And yes, those are new chips taken out of the cage, not.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. Oh, thank you. You want me to take it? Oh, look at this. Oh.
Jim, you want that? Hand it to Cruz. That's what we have Cruz for.
For anybody that may not realize, the folks that are up here with us are Jim and Sandy Steffner, and they have been our convention chairs for the last 6 conventions. That's longer than anybody in the 15 conventions that we've had. Speaking from experience, it's a tremendous amount of work. It's the biggest project that we do all year long, and it's for everybody's benefit sitting in this room. And trust me, you have to love it to do it that many years. As an organization, as y'all all know, we are a nonprofit, and we have to be very prudent in the gifts that we give to our volunteers. So, we know y'all don't need any more plaques. We couldn't think of anything that you really needed. So what we've done is we've gotten $150 worth of American Express gift cards, so you can do with what you'd like, and we do appreciate everything you've done. So on behalf of the club, we'd like to present you with the gift cards. Okay, now that we've got the club part of it out of the way, because we are a nonprofit, members might frown upon extravagance, the IRS might frown on extravagance, but your friends can do what they want to. So what has happened is members of the board of directors have talked to some of the dealers, some of the committee chairs, and some of the volunteers, and we have taken up a little collection to get you an appropriate gift on behalf of all of us for everything you've done. So the first part is the gift certificates. And we might suggest that when you're shopping, you can put it in this bag to go along with the theme of tonight.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
We further might suggest that you use the gift cards to pay the parking toll at the airport. Because in addition to the club gift, the members of the board, dealers, convention volunteers, convention chairs have got together, and the gift is a pair of airline tickets to Maui. We're not done. Okay, it just so happens that Jim and I discussed this last year about putting together a raffle to give away a trip to Maui. My wife and I just happen to know some folks that own a condo in Lahaina. So, in addition to what we've mentioned so far, you've got 6 days and 5 nights in an oceanfront condo at Lahaina Shores. Now, one last thing. It is an Hawaiian tradition that as somebody departs, whether they go off to school, they retire, whatever the case may be, that their friends and family gives them a personal lei. So the folks behind you are going to give each one of you a lei. All right? We'll discuss the travel arrangements. Okay. But this, And we also have, there's a couple of thank you cards that we've had everybody sign that contributed to this, and we'll get those to you. But on behalf of the board, the membership, we sincerely appreciate everything y'all have done for this organization over the last 6 years. We look forward to y'all volunteering for some other stuff when you get back. But enjoy it. Aloha, mahalo.
Thank you. You are only as good as your team and your leaders. Thank you, Mike. I could name every one of you, and I can't think of a name right now. I do want to thank Marianne and Bruce Massey. They have been with us the whole 6 years. They have done all of our pre-registration, and I know what it's been like because we've been helping. Barb and Paul Bender, thank you so much for your 6 years of service, too. And all of the rest of the volunteers, thank you. Now, I know there's been someone here that has worked so hard. I have watched it day after day. And he is probably one of the most talented, outstanding person that I have ever met. So I decided to marry him. He at one time, it's been probably about 27 years, 7 months, few hours, asked me for a dance. And I have been dancing the rest of my life. I love him, and he has been great. And I do enjoy working for him. Thank you all.
I'll just make it short. To everyone who's helped us the past 6 years, mahalo.
I was very nervous last time I was up here, and somebody said, well, you said a lot of things. And well, maybe so, because I can sure talk. The one thing I did want to say, and I am apologizing to Brenda Black. Brenda, where are you? Thank you. Brenda has been our registration person the whole time Jim and I have been here, and none of you could have been here tonight if it wasn't for Brenda, and I forgot her. And I do want to thank you, and of course Archie's always there too. But thanks again, everyone.
At this time, I'd like to ask Jim Follis to come up to do our Odie Awards.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the 2006 Odie Awards. And I'd like to say that Casey and I wish to thank all the Odie judges. I don't know how many of you are actually here tonight, but we do appreciate your participation. And you got to keep in mind, the next one's just a few months away, and we only have 10 months until we decide the winner for 2007. Yes, I got the memo, the Hawaiian shirt memo. Unfortunately, I don't have my video with me because the equipment is suffering right now. So you'll just have to bear with me. Anyway, in the video I did make a note of the event, but since the video portion has fallen through, I will have to settle for a lay. Well, you'll have to settle for a shorter performance, and I'll end it at that. Now on to the Odie Awards. Starting with the Kokoti, the slot card room key of the year. I'm not going to run through all the nominees because I don't have my video with me, but I'm going to get right into the winner, and that is the Stardust room key. And accepting the award for the Stardust is Mr. Jim Seagrave, Vice President of Advertising for Coast Casinos, and he is formerly of the Stardust. Jim? Microphone in the right place for you? Jim, congratulations.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you very much. And And if I could ask you to stay here and don't fall off. Sure. Okay, just watch your step. Go ahead and grab the next one. I'd also like to make note that Mike Musicero is here, also from the Orleans. Mike, if you could just stand for a moment, please. Thank you, Mike. The Stardust slot card is made by a company called Innovative, and boy, I had a heck of a time getting a hold of them. They're out of Illinois. They could not send a representative, so we'll be sending them their certificate later on. Now I'd like to go ahead and talk about the Toady Award. And of course, we know that the tokens are going away. I hope that something will happen, but I'm not sure. But they are starting to just go away. The winner for this year is Bronco Billy's MVP birthday token. Now, Bronco Billy or Bronco Billy's in Cripple Creek, they could not attend, and accepting that award tonight is Mr. Greg Susong. Thank you. You did a good job. And if you do me a favor, just have it stand over here and don't fall off.
Okay.
All righty. Now, I talked to the people at Bronco Billy's, and that particular token they make, it's for people who are having a birthday. And they give it out as a $1 token. It used to be for slot machines, but their slot machines are no longer tokens. And in fact, 2007 is the last token that Bronco Billy's is doing in that entire series of MVP $1 slot machine tokens. The machines are gone, or at least the acceptor for the dollar token, and it's just the demise of tokens. By the way, that token was made by Osborne Coin. And now I'd like to move along to Silver Strike of the Year. And Silver Strike of the Year, jumping right into it, the winner is the $40 Mandalay Bay Morio Beach token. And accepting that award is Mr. Michael Kyle of Mandalay Bay. Michael? Thank you very much. It's like paparazzi. Isn't that great? And if you don't mind standing over here. I would like to take a moment for everybody in the room to wish Michael happy birthday. Today's his birthday. I'm not sure he wanted to hear that, but I did it anyway. Moving on to the Cody Awards. Now, 9 of the 10 nominees were GPI Paulson. There was one chip from Matsui, but Paulson is, or GPI, Paulson, GPI, is at the table tonight. So one of those 9 chips is Chip of the Year. But I need to regress a little bit and ask Mr. I had it here, Dave Phillips of GPI Paulson to step forward. And I'm going to do a little bit of makeup from 1999 and 2001. Dave is the designer of the 1999 Cody Harris Dry Heat chip, the 250 snapper, and he is also the designer of the 2001 Aladdin United We Stand Cody chip. And we weren't handing out plaques back then, but they asked me if I could do this, and of course. Congratulations. But I'm not going to ask you to say. Thank you, Dave. Now, also from Paulson, or GPI, for years it's always been Paulson. From GPI, we do have Pearson Gorham here with us. I just would like him to stand up behind those shades and say hi. Pearson, I think this is at least the 3rd time you've been here?
This is the 4th time I've been here.
Does that count the one that you didn't show up for? Anyway, obviously, Paulson, GPI, they make good chips. The designs, I mean, as Odies, we just love them. But Pearson, thank you for being here tonight. But I do need to announce the big Cody winner, and for that, we have a representative from the winning casino, the Sarasota Kennel Club, One Eye Jacks. All right? Now, accepting the award, we have the One Eye Jacks Poker Room managers, and I'm sure there's a little bit more than that, but it's Mr. Sam Minutello and J.D. Mast. Congratulations. Congratulations. Does she want to come in a little closer? One more? You got one back there?
I'm getting close.
No, Mariel wants to come in. Okay. No, don't go away. Okay. Vaughn McKenzie, can you stand up a moment, please? There he is. He's out there. Vaughn, these guys are going to be looking for you. Okay? And I already told them that you've got the 25 that they just came out with. But they did tell me that they are going to do a one-year anniversary chip. And as long as that happens this year, that'll be eligible next year for the 2007 Odies. Now, of course, the chip was done by GPI Paulson, and I'd like to ask them to come forward. And that is Danielle Duffy, the artist designer of the chip. If I got that right. Congratulations, but I have an award here for you.
Wonderful.
Anyway. All right, thank you. Don't go away. You can't go away. You got to come back. I just need to make sure I have everything in order. I think I covered everything, and I want to thank you. We have a photo session where? Over there. Anyway, these are the Odie winners for 2006. Look to the club magazine for January 1st. I need your nominations. Thank you. We can all come on over here for a photo session.
Photo session, do you, since I'm not a real representative?
Yeah. Wayne, can I say one more thing? It wasn't in my notes, but I do want you all to know that I found out tonight by my guests that there is a dig over at the Stardust. They did find stuff in the foundations over there. Gaming took it or had it all destroyed, but they found stuff in the excavation of the Stardust, chips.
At this time, we've got a special presentation. I'd like to ask Jerry Burrell to come up. And while Jerry's coming up, I just want to touch on something real quickly. We've been talking about the building fund for years, and Mr. Cruz is the one that came up with the idea. And Jerry's going to make a presentation tonight that will put us over the $100,000 mark. Now, this is something that's all been raised through our members. A lot of people have spent time on it, and I'm not going to get into all of that. But we had a meeting today, and I'll let President Skelton get into it a little more. But we are now moving out of the investigation stage, so to speak. We brought Sandra Harris in here, who ran the Neon Museum, and we had a 2 or 3 day session with her. And she presented us with a 140-page report on what we need to do to make this museum a reality. And it is going to happen. And after I'm installed on Saturday, Mike Skelton has agreed to be the permanent chair of that committee, and he will be appointed, and we are going to start a capital campaign. And I want to thank everybody for your contributions and your support, and let you know that we're going to kick it in high gear now. So let me introduce Jerry Burrell.
I just want to take a second to get all my paraphernalia together. Get all this stuff here. off this, Michael. That's there.
Okay. So let me know.
Okay, I guess I got everything together now. Don't draw me. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Jerry Burrell. In the hobby, I'm known as Mr. Roulette. I joined the club in 1992. I'm a member R774, life member number 27, and I'm also a Diamond Club member at Harris. The reason I'm up here tonight is to honor somebody that was instrumental in me getting started in this hobby, also a Hall of Fame member, and a dear friend of mine, and a person that recruited probably more people than anybody did in the early years of the club. And that person is Bob Muir. Bob is in the Hall of Fame. Unfortunately passed away in 1999 after a long battle with leukemia. Tonight is the 5th anniversary when Bob was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2002. What I have here tonight to present back to the club are things to honor Bob and to honor his memory. He was the one that was instrumental in starting the Atlantic City chapter at that time of the CC&GTCC, which is now the Atlantic City Casino Collectibles Club. I'm also president of that too, if I didn't mention that before. Bob had a shop in Atlantic City, and if you were a chipper in Atlantic City, the first thing you did was go to Bob's shop. It was like our clubhouse. He knew everything was going on. He knew all the chips that were out. He had auctions. He had bid boards. He had everything going on. And that was the focal point of our entire setup. And in 1994, he encouraged the group to get together and to form a chapter of the National Club. Tonight, I want to present back to the club to hopefully put in our museum Bob's plaque for being a Hall of Fame member. Hope he wants to take this.
All right, just a second. Okay. Mike, would you and Jim come up here, please? The two people, this was probably the only good idea that Jim Cruz has ever had. And we're not looking for another one, but you never know. Well, excuse me. He did marry Debbie. That was the best thing he did. But Jim and Mike have been very instrumental in the building fund, so I'm going to let Jerry make this presentation to them.
Okay, Bob, do this over here. Hang on. No. Wait. I'll just do this. You're getting ahead of me there, big fella. Again, this is Bob's plaque that we're donating back to the club. We've had it in Atlantic City. Russ Diaz and I accepted this in 2002 in Bob's memory. And when Russ gave this back to me at our July 22nd meeting, I had, the hairs stood up on my arm because I felt the connection back to Bob. Because we were not just dealers and buyers and traders and stuff, but we became really good friends, and he was almost like a brother to me. And that's what happens universally in this hobby. You start out, meeting somebody at a convention and you trade chips and maybe buy some chips off of somebody, but they become long-lasting friendships that far exceed anything else that's involved in the club. And that's the way that I felt about Bob. Also, the club made up the medallion that'll be put into the museum also in Bob's memory. Now, we have a plaque that we made up to commemorate tonight's events. And it says, in memory of Bob Muir, This plaque and $4,000 donation to the CC&GTCC Building Fund are presented in fond memory of CC&GTCC Hall of Fame member Bob Muir to commemorate the 5th anniversary of Bob's posthumous induction to the Hall of Fame in 2002. Bob, an avid chip collector and dealer, was a top recruiter for the CC&GTCC for an unprecedented 5 consecutive years from 1990 through 1994. Bob was also the driving force behind the formation of the Atlantic City chapter of the CCGT in 1994. Bob passed away in December of 1999 after a long battle with leukemia, but Bob's legacy lives on today. The Atlantic City Casino Collectibles Club, successor to the Atlantic City chapter of the CCGTC, is still the largest and most active regional club in the casino collectibles hobby. Presented with great pride by the members of the Atlantic City Casino Collectibles Club. And on here, we have our chips commemorating our 12th anniversary with 3 different designs, the cards, the dice, and the roulette wheel, which we produced in 2006 to commemorate the 12th anniversary. So I want to give that to... And last but not least, in Las Vegas style, we have the large check. I got the real one in my pocket, but here's the large check for the $4,000 donation in Bob's memory. Just to go back, and this money was raised back in 1999 when Bob was very ill. Outpouring of, again, feelings from all across the chip community at that time. And well, unfortunately, Bob did pass away, but the money that was raised for his medical expenses was just left in the club's treasury. And it had been earmarked to be given to the building fund at some time in the future when it was appropriate. And it just turned out that the stars lined up and everything's appropriate. It's the 5th anniversary of Bob's induction. We're going to go over the $100,000 mark, and we're very pleased that we can do this tonight. Thank you very much. There you go. I'll give you the real check later.
They don't let me touch money, I'm sorry. Ralph. Ralph. Now, Ralph, I know this is your last time since you're going out of office. Try to keep this under 45 minutes, okay? Since Bob Mara was known as a recruiter, we fear it's appropriate now to give the Recruiter of the Year awards to our members.
Hello, everybody. You all know what I'm going to say because I say it every year, but this year, I promise you, it'll be the last time. As I say every year, if we don't grow, we surely will die. So again, it is my pleasure to announce the Bob Mara Memorial Recruiter of the Year Award. We, as always, do 10. And number 1, of course, gets a plaque, and the others get a nice certificate. And myself, the rest of the board, and the membership appreciate all that you do to bring more into the fold so we can continue this on long after some of us are gone. Would the following people please come up in no particular order? C.T. Rogers, Archie Black, Josh Shore, James Compaglia, Andy Hughes, Jim Follis, Tyrus Mulkey, and Jeff Buckner. These are our members who worked hard but didn't quite make number 1. I know they'll try harder next year.
Our top recruiter for this last year was a gentleman out of Texas, and I don't know if he's here tonight or not, but our #1 recruiter for 2006 and 2007 was Mr. Greg Cagle. I would like to take this opportunity, while I have so many people in front of me, to thank everybody for the help and support and encouragement that I've been given for the last 6 years in my position as membership officer. On Saturday, I'll be done. Sunday Silverman will be taking my place. I know she'll do a great job. She's a great person. And a special thanks to my lovely wife, Rona, who put up with me doing this every day for 6 years and not leaving me like she probably should have. I consider it an honor that you allowed me to do this for 6 years, and I look forward to being on the other side of the table and having a great time like you all are come next year. Thank you all very much.
Mike, at this time I'd like to ask Mike Skelton to come up, and a suggestion was made by George D. about a year ago, and it was a good suggestion. We've taken it on, and Mike is going to present the first annual President's Award, or awards, I'm not sure which. So, Michael?
As Wayne said, this was a suggestion that came to the board from George D. about recognizing somebody, or plural, some peoples, or even companies that had contributed greatly to the success of our hobby, to our club, that for whatever reason may not have gotten into the Hall of Fame, may not have been considered for the Hall of Fame, but it does definitely not exclude Hall of Fame members. Tonight, we're going to present the first President's Award to two folks.
It'd be the first and the second.
That would be the first and the second. The very first, and it's called the President's Award, but it came to the board. The board discussed it at great length, and as you can imagine, there were dozens, if not hundreds, of possibilities for this thing. We narrowed it down and then finally had to make a decision on it. So the very first President's Award from the Casino Chip and Gaming Token Collectors Club goes to somebody that's been around and involved in this organization for 19 years. The very first time I saw this person was at the very first Chip convention, way back when. They've been involved in conventions and the club ever since. And the very first President's Award goes to Miss Brenda Black.
We are.
Yes, we are a sneaky bunch, and I'd just like to read this. President's Award presented to Brenda Black in recognition of her 19 years of dedication to and support of the Casino Chip and Gaming Token Collectors Club, Inc., and for the countless hours spent assisting the club and fellow members during our annual conventions, August 2007.
Bless their heart.
Thank you, Chuck. Thank you.
Not nice, Chuck.
Can I say something? They really surprised me this time. I was sitting there thinking who I thought it would be, and I never thought it would be me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brenda. Okay, there's been a lot of words and phrases used to describe this next individual. Unique probably doesn't quite get it. This person has been around for 16, 17 years. We're going to go with 16. They've been involved in the conventions from the very beginning. So without any further ado, the second President's Award from the Casino Chip and Gaming Token Collectors Club is presented to Mr. Jim Cruz. And it reads, presented to Jim Cruz in recognition of his 16 years of dedication to and support of the Casino Chip and Gaming Token Collectors Club, Inc., and for the countless hours spent assisting the club and the fellow members during our annual conventions, August 2007. If you don't know, Jim was the very first auctioneer we had at our very first convention way back when, and he's been doing it ever since. And he's doing a great job, and you know his commitment in association with the building fund, and we sincerely appreciate it, Jim. And as I said, unique doesn't start to describe this guy.
I'd like to thank Mike, and I'd like to accept this on behalf of all of the non-collecting spouses, the people that we're married to, our girlfriends, the people that allow us to do this, because believe me, if they didn't let us indulge ourselves in this hobby, we wouldn't be doing this. So I'd like to accept this for all of them. Thank you.
Jim, just be glad that Mike gave that to you. Unique wouldn't have been a word I would have chosen. At this time, I would like to ask the Hall of Fame Committee Chairman, Michael Knapp, to come up. We've got 3 things left on the agenda tonight, and in my mind, they're some of the most important things we do. And the first one is the Hall of Fame. You want to dance?
I know you all expect to see Archie up here, but Archie was chairman of the Hall of Fame Committee for the first 2 years and has passed that on to me. This is my first year doing the job. The Hall of Fame is, I'm sure you know, the club's highest honor. It recognizes service to the club and service to the hobby as a whole. Inductees are based on recommendations from you. The notices, the requests for recommendations go out in the club magazine. We don't get nearly enough responses, and I urge you all to consider completing the form next year and sending it in. Once the recommendations are made by the membership, the entire Hall of Fame, which is what constitutes the Hall of Fame Committee, reviews those recommendations and actually makes the nominations for Hall of Fame for the following year. From those nominations, a ballot is composed and the Hall of Fame members vote as to who should be inducted into the Hall of Fame. What I'd like to do is make sure you understand who is in the Hall of Fame. We have 3 members who are no longer with us: Harvey Fuller, Bruce Landau, and Bob Mira. What I'd like to do now is introduce those people who are with us, who are members of the Hall of Fame, and ask them to come up and just stand here for the presentation. Archie Black, Howard Hers, Phil Jensen, Alan Myers, Janice O'Neill, C.T. Rogers, Eric Rosenblum. And no, they can't be impeached. Once they're in, they're in.
Can you work on that? We can do it, a constitutional amendment.
Bless his heart. Doug Saito. Dale Seymour. Mike Skelton. Greg Susong. Gene Trimble. Ernie Wielden cannot be here until tomorrow, I think, or Friday, rather. Ernie? And that's most of the Hall of Fame. I'm sure all of you know virtually all these people. If not, you should. Without these people, the hobby would not be what it is today. Tonight, we add one new member. His name's been kept secret, sealed in a mayonnaise jar and kept on Funkin' Wagnall's porch. And anybody who laughed at that is very old. I don't think there's going to be any surprise, though, especially when I begin explaining why this person is a newest member of the Hall of Fame. He was one of the original Prodigy participants way back before the internet, when Prodigy was the only national service other than CompuServe that people could get onto and talk to each other live coast to coast. In the middle of his term as membership officer, Jim Harp died suddenly of a heart attack. The club was pretty desperate for a quick replacement because membership officer is an extremely important position, and as Ralph will tell you, the work is constant. In June of 1966, this member took over and made sure that new member services and mailings to all members proceeded as scheduled. In 2001, he ran for president of the club after he had served as membership officer for 5 years. For the past 6 years, he's served with the assistance of his wife, Sandy, as convention chairman. He's one of the steadiest, most cheerful, least flappable people I've ever met in this hobby, especially in the position of convention chairman. It's my great pleasure to welcome Jim Steffner to the Hall of Fame.
We have a meeting on Friday. Try and make it. And
This medallion is worn only by Hall of Fame members, and you know who they are, and Jim now gets his.
What an honor. See if I can get through this. I'm flappable maybe till now.
You're allowed to flap now.
A little bit? Okay. I know when years ago when the Hall of Fame people started getting, announced, I'd look at them and say, yep, those are the ones that are way up there in chip collecting. They're really the top of the line. Until tonight. No, really they are. I just want to say it's an honor. I mean, a real honor to be included in a group like this. And that honor is really due to everyone in the club, the ones that have helped me since I started in collecting, the ones that have helped me all along in, as convention chairman. And it's maybe not so much what I did myself, but what you've all done for me. And probably one of the biggest ones I've got to thank is Sandy for putting up with me in this crazy hobby. But I sure appreciated it all along. So once again, thank you. It's an honor to be with a group such as this.
In addition to the individual plaque that Jim received, there is an award, or a plaque rather, that commemorates all members of the Hall of Fame and which will eventually go in our building. And Jim's name appears as the last plaque inducted in 2007.
Jim, now that you're a member of the Hall of Fame, you need to come up here and do a little work. You want the book, the magazine? Yeah. I'll get you the plaques.
I get to give out some things. Two things I'd like to read first. Since this is our 15th anniversary, it's a very important, step in the club. Greetings from the governor. As governor of the state of Nevada, it's my genuine pleasure to welcome you to the Riviera Hotel for the 15th annual convention of the Casino Chip and Gaming Token Collectors Club. We are honored to host the dynamic members of this organization and are even more pleased that over 2,000 collectors from around the world have chosen to return to our great state. While you are here, please take advantage of the numerous cultural, recreational, and entertainment opportunities this region and all of the state of Nevada have to offer. Please do not hesitate to contact our office if there's anything we can do to make your visit more productive and pleasurable. Thank you again for joining us for this exciting event. We wish you all the best for an enjoyable, safe, and memorable weekend. Sincerely, Jim Givens, Governor of the State of Nevada. And one more, and this one really hits a good point for the club. From the Office of the Mayor, proclamation. By virtue of the authority given to me by the State of Nevada and the Charter of the City of Las Vegas, I, Oscar B. Goodman, Mayor of the City of Las Vegas, do hereby proclaim August 8th, 2007 as Casino Chip and Gaming Token Collector Club Day in the City of Las Vegas, and ask all citizens to acknowledge the Casino Chip and Gaming Token Collectors Club as they celebrate their 15th annual convention in our great city. Hey, now that we know the government likes us, got some awards to give out. Each year we honor some specific things that happen in the club. The first one is Magazine Article of the Year. And this is voted on by the Board of Directors as the best article in the Chip and Token News. For 2007, I'm happy to announce that, and I hope I pronounce this right, Pam Gortler and Brian Cashman have won for Fremont Street, downtown Las Vegas, Casino Chip and Token News, Volume 19, Number 4. Is Pam or Brian here?
And Pam did all the work, by the way. We knew that.
No.
Okay.
Okay, the second award that I'd like to hand out is along the same line, but this is Book of the Year. And this is for the best book on casino-related subject that's put out. For 2007, I'd like to present this for the Nevada Casino Playing Card Guide. Goes to Sandy Steffner and Janice O'Neill. Whoops, watch it. Don't break out.
Got some big secrets
I
from
sure
me.
did.
Oh, thank you so much.
Good job.
Thank you for Janice, too. And a little promotion, there are 2 more books out. They're at Janice's table 11. And we have 2 more to go in this series of 5. And I do hope you're enjoying them.
One thing I'll mention about this too, since I think I've been in this hobby now for about 12 or 13 years, and like I mentioned before, I got to thank her a lot for putting up with what I do, and I could never get her interested in collecting anything connected with casinos. And she went over to Janice's house one day and took a look at the playing cards, and that's gone now. She's into it. Yeah. Just another quick announcement, the convention chip for the club, the first place winning design on that is from Debbie Meister. And I don't see Debbie standing up, so she must not be here tonight. The winning medal design is Kevin Norris. Yeah, I can.
All right, you want to do them over here? Yeah. First list. Oh, get on the list? Yeah.
Sit over there and I'll read them. Hand them to you. Do what?
We've got a lot of great volunteers in this club, so many of them that just work hours and hours, on their own and really support this club so much. We've got to honor several of them tonight, and we've got some nice awards for them. Wayne will read the list off if they'd come up, and we'll pass these out.
Okay, Alan Anderson for Casino Chip and Gaming Token News. He's our editor. And for those of you that don't know, for the 3rd out of the 4th year, we have been honored by the American Numismatic Association as the Publication of the Year. And I guess you can go over here and give them that. And I mean, we're competing against a lot of publications, and we've had 3 first place, 1 second place, and I think the second place was just because they felt sorry for somebody and wanted to give it to somebody new. Bob Bickford, who is done a great job as volunteer coordinator. Brenda Black as registration chairman. Travis Lewin as claims director. Mark Leiterman as photographer. Paul Bender, convention setup chairman. Jim Cruz. What do you do? Oh, yeah, you're the building committee chairman. Barb Bender, convention setup chairman. Todd Barrett, convention program book chairman. Another one for Jim Cruz is auctioneer. Jim Follis, OLCD.
Have a bunch of them there.
And you might as well stay here. Jim Follis is OTY chairman.
Don't go away.
Then we have Casey Ficazio Follis as convention exhibit chairman and assistant OD chairman. Mary Ann and Bruce Massey, convention pre-registration chairman. John Moore, assistant editor, Casino Chip and Toking News. Roy Nelson, promotions and property director. Bob Pardue, librarian and convention poker blackjack chairman. Both those are his. Greg Susong, webmaster. I assume you don't want yours. Jay Sands, Bruce Landau, Memorial Auction co-chair. Eric Rosenblum, and that's counsel, C-O-U-S-E-L-N-S-E-L. Eric's our legal counsel. Sheldon Smith, education seminar director and publicity director. Barry Weintraub, Bruce Landau Memorial Auction chairman. And C.T. Rogers, advertising director. You got anything else?
No, that's it.
I find it interesting that Jim reads these two proclamations. The one from the mayor is about 3 times the size of the one from the governor. I don't know if that's any indication of anything. I would like to, at this time, ask Mike Skelton, Mike Quinlivan, and Ralph Myers to come up. These are our outgoing board members who have worked hard the last 4 years. In Ralph's case, 6 years. And Mike's 5 years. Let's see. And I just want to say thank you for all you all have done. You've done a great job. And on behalf of the membership, we just want to say thank you. Mike. And to wrap up the evening, President Skelton.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I just wanted to say real quick, I would like to recognize the outgoing board as a whole. It's been my genuine privilege to serve as your president for the last 4 years, and it's been an honor to work with these 4 people. It's Belinda Hickson, our secretary, Wayne Thompson, our vice president, Mike Quinlivan, our treasurer, and Ralph Myers, our membership officer. I really appreciate all y'all's hard work and dedication to this organization. And our new incoming board, Wayne Thompson is president, Belinda Hickson is secretary, Jay Sands is our vice president, Sunday Silverman as our membership officer, and Doug Smith as our treasurer. Good luck. If you need anything, we'll be around. Anything else?
This afternoon you said, good luck, don't call me.
Yeah, right. I would like to recognize our newly appointed co-convention chairs for 2008 is Mike Pasternak and Don Satter. Thank you. Thank you.
Bless their heart.
Yes. And if Wayne has nothing else, I would like to say aloha and a hui ho until we meet again. I'm sorry? Before we break this up, we had the Big Kahuna shirt contest tonight, and I put up a $100 cash prize, and the secret judges have selected Brian Cashman, the winner.
Thank you for coming. Again, we want to thank our guests for being here, and we're done.